Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you a very special treat, and here we are tonight in the Martello Tower at Old Borough in Suffolk. This building is particularly unusual. It was originally built in the early part of the 19th century as a ring defensive system across the coastline all the way from here in Suffolk all the way down to Kent. The idea being that if the French had invaded this country, these forts could be used as a defensive position to repel any potential invasion. Quite how they would have fared under heavy warfare is open to speculation because none of them ever were used in battle. However, what's unusual about this building, it has 4 towers. All Martellos have a single tower. This is quatrefoil, which is very, very unusual. And another unusual factor about this tower is it was once part of the village of Slowden, which unfortunately was destroyed many, many years ago by the sea. We're literally on the beach facing directly out into the North Sea. That's how close we are to the sea. It's absolutely bitterly cold and it's a heavy fog which is shrouded in the entire area. Anything could be better than that, it must be this. This is just the, should we say, a very special opportunity to be able to capture paranormal activity. And on the subject of paranormal activity, we've been here a few days and all of us have experienced whispering voices. I actually heard yesterday, I was sat in this very same room, I was actually sat here on my own, there was nobody else in the building, and I heard a voice call out my name, Christopher. Others have heard whispering or even conversations taking place, and what I'm hoping to do is to introduce the rest of the participants here tonight for them to give you their take on the events which they've experienced since they've been here. And the very first person I want to introduce you to is my dear friend Ursula Bielski, who's travelled over here from Chicago, Illinois, with her daughter Ilsa and her ex-partner Dave. And what they're going to do is be able to tell you their own personal experiences that they've had since they visited this unique building, and it is unique. There is nothing like this building anywhere at all in Britain or nor indeed in Europe. With me tonight is Ursula, as I mentioned earlier, and it's a real honour and a privilege for you to be here in the UK. And we've been busy filming a documentary on M.R James.
We have.
And what have you experienced? What have you thought of it so far, being in this country, visiting all these wonderful sites?
It's incredible. We've been here for almost 8 days now.
Yes.
We've traveled all over Suffolk, Essex, Norfolk, and it's just been an amazing experience. We've traveled to so many churches, churchyards, beachfronts, forests, ancient sites of priories and friaries and churches and castles and everything else, and it's just so wonderful. It's just been a fantastic experience, but you really feel that age of everything and the connection to nature of everything. And as you mentioned here at the Martello Tower, it's just phenomenal. We're here right on the North Sea, and as an American, to be so close to all of this English history, British history, European history, and you see the history of the wars, especially everywhere.
Oh, totally.
Oh my gosh, it's reflected everywhere. Every church you go to, every pub you go to.
But you have a little confession to make, don't you?
What?
You've fallen in love with this country.
Oh gosh, I can't believe. Yeah, we have to go home in 3 days, and
You're not looking forward to it.
It's going to be really,
because
really
here
hard.
you're surrounded so much history,
Yeah,
culture,
yeah.
the English culture, the history, the whole ambience of the
Yeah.
place, and the weather systems here, just bizarre. Fog for the last 2
The
days.
fog that we've had, especially here at Martello Tower,
Yeah.
the last 2 days, it's like a ghost story come to life.
Let
Just
me ask
walking
you,
down the
I know you
beach.
haven't stayed here until tonight, you've stayed elsewhere.
Right.
Have you experienced anything in this building since you've been here?
I already have. Earlier this afternoon, we were here doing some voiceovers and some filming for the show. And I was just sitting out here with Eddie, and twice during probably 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I heard and felt a very heavy thump once from there's a underground area here where there's all bricks, tunnels and everything underneath that we didn't expect to find here. But I heard and felt a very loud thump from below, and then one from one of the bedrooms to the side as well. So yeah, there were two things I heard, and I also thought I heard a woman laughing when we were here yesterday, which could have been someone walking along the beach, but could have been, could have not have been, but it definitely piqued my interest.
So it's been really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, tonight, I mean, what Ursula has touched on, the fact that although we're on a fairly level platform here, all the rooms are situated on this one floor, but below us are two, if you like, underground chambers, cells, which go under the building, which I'm sure, and they are original to the period, which I'm certain we will go down later and pick something of interest. So it's not just this floor, it's a lounge here, which faces onto the North Sea, and these amazing underground fortifications. And not many people know about that. When this is advertised as a holiday let.
Right, with two bedrooms and 4 beds.
And I must stress, if anyone watching this, the Martello Tower at Aldborough, and people are thinking, oh my God, this place must be haunted. All places are haunted to some degree, and this place is haunted, but in a very gentle way. You don't see or feel anything. You hear voices, whispering is what I've heard, apart from my name being called. So I'm hopeful, and we'll do a ghost box session in a while, I'm hopeful that they're going to come across and talk to us and share some information about the history of this building. That is absolutely amazing, Ursula. Thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Big friend hug there. And then we're going to crack on with the investigation shortly, but I want to introduce the other members of the group here tonight. With me at the moment is Jason Figgis, who has kindly joined us here on this shoot for the last week as Director of Photography, and he has been the cameraman and captured some amazing footage, and I'm really honoured that you've joined us for this documentary. And so you've been staying here for a few days.
Yeah.
And what have you felt here, Jason?
Well, the first night we got here, I woke up at 2:25 exactly in the morning, just bolt awake, and immediately heard 2 male voices in conversation. It wasn't anything sinister, it was very much like a casual conversation. It didn't even freak me out in any way because it was so casual.
Did you hear what they were saying?
No, I couldn't. It was muffled and it was gentle, and it was very much like maybe 2 comrades working here just having a kind of a conversation where, you know, nothing important was being discussed. It was just general.
I mean, you were with me when we investigated Let Castle and in Ireland, and also Cafnafola House.
Absolutely.
And on both occasions you experienced paranormal activity there.
Yeah.
But how does that compare to this place? I mean, in terms of sinister, should we say?
Well, this place I find just a beautiful place to be in.
A light ambience.
It's a light ambience. There's definitely presences here, but they don't feel threatening in any way. I mean, you could happily sit out here on your own at night reading a book or whatever and not feel as though you had to suddenly turn and is there something there?
And when you hear the whispering, it's quite innocuous. It doesn't cause any offence or fear. There's no changes of temperature or the other manifestations that you experience from these things.
I mean, we heard, Eddie and I actually heard 2 knockings on the door as well last night, which you were with us and you didn't hear those. But we heard 2 distinct knockings on the door. And I, this morning when I woke up, my alarm went off at 9 o'clock, quite late for a shoot, but it went off at 9 a.m. and as soon as I turned it off, I lay still for a minute and I heard distinctly a woman laughing, just a very light laugh.
But you would consider, where would women fit into this? This was staffed by members of the Royal Navy.
I know, I mean, unless it was maybe after the Royal Navy left and whatever uses it had after that, which
people
I don't know
about. Yeah, you don't know.
People living here or visiting maybe, but definitely some other kind of presence was caught. You know, even if you're into that whole idea of the stone effect, where certain types of stone, you know, soak up memorable events or sensations. Significant events.
So it replays like a film.
But again, it was light though. It was a woman laughing. There was nothing sinister about it. So the general feeling for me is one of, even though it's a fortified structure, it feels like lightness. But I must admit though, on the first night when we got here and we went into the cellar area, that doesn't feel very light. There's definitely something below
Kind of
ground.
darkness there.
Yeah, that definitely feels like a harder place to be.
And we're going to go in
I
there. and have a look.
know, I'm looking forward to seeing, or if we see anything, or whether you catch anything on EVP.
Well, I can say it's absolutely fantastic you've elected to join us here tonight.
I'm looking forward
and
to it.
we're looking forward to it. We'll go and grab a couple more guests, and then we'll bring in our special guest that you love to meet on these investigations. And you just touched on that name, but I'm not going to repeat it. Okay, let's go and get everybody else. Thanks, Jason. I have a special guest here tonight, all the way from Chicago, Illinois, Dave Cowan. Dave has a special affinity to the UK. He served in the American Air Force, serving at, was it Lakenheath?
Lakenheath, correct.
And you lived here for a few years.
Correct.
So for you to come back to this country must be like a return to the places that you missed and loved from years back.
It is. It's a full circle. I was last here in 1988. I was stationed here in 84 all the way up to early 86. So it's just a wonderful experience to be back.
And how's the trip been this week?
Great. I've come full circle. I was able to go visit a lot of locations, so a lot of familiarity. We did stay initially in Lavenham. I visited quite a bit throughout Suffolk, Norfolk, Cambridgeshire, Essex area. So it's been nice. My interest, I know a lot about the history. I've always known about the hauntings of the region, but I was always taken by the history of the American 8th and 9th Air Forces here during the war. And what I would do on my days off would just use a couple of reference books and just scour the English countryside and find the old abandoned airfield
They're real
sites.
jewels when you find
Oh,
them.
they are, and I've had opportunity to do that on this trip as well and reconnect with sites that I had visited 32 years ago, so it's really quite wonderful.
Tell me, since you've been here this week, you've been in and out of this place,
Mm-hmm.
have you experienced anything here?
I've certainly felt the presence. I haven't heard anything. It's very interesting since we've been here. There's been a lot of fog, so it's been very environmental.
Still fog.
A lot of sound of the surf crashing against the coastline here, and I just feel like I'm back in 1803. I mean, it's very nautical here. I can't stop thinking about the history of the origin of the building, why it was placed here. So. There's definitely something here for sure.
And a million miles from Chicago,
Yes,
so it feels.
yes.
Contrast is absolute.
Thankfully so, yes, right. I mean, well, we have forts. Our pioneer forts were made out of wood and timber. Hardly any of them exist. And here, this is built like a solid rock. It was built in 1803.
Out of brick and stone.
Right, and here we had a fort that was a soldier fort that was built, in the settlement that eventually became Chicago in 1803. It was burned by Potawatomi Indians in 1812. It was rebuilt in 1816, but by 1840, it was completely gone. I mean, we just don't have these edifices or edify, however you pronounce them, in the States, in the Midwest and West, as they do in Europe, obviously. So it's wonderful to be in here in such a solid building, just an absolutely solid building.
Of course, your ancestry is Irish,
right? Yes,
which is the brick child, to use the expression.
Yes, right.
So this is part and parcel of that experience, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, very much so.
Are you looking forward to tonight's investigation?
I am indeed. Yes.
Well, hopefully we're going to pick up some really, really cool activity.
Good.
I've got my fingers crossed.
Right.
And of course, we have one more special guest who's joined us here for the investigation. Somebody that you all know about, and I will go and bring him to you now. I'm really honoured that you've joined us here, Eddie. You've been helping us out all week. You've played the Menacing Spectre on the M.R James documentary. You have played Mr Ager.
I still have to do those marvellous words, yeah.
Marvellous word. Eddie was brilliant. Because Eddie's got long hair, which is always tied up. And on this occasion, Eddie's hair was flying free. He looked like some kind of Saxon chieftain standing up there, some demonic entity. Here we go. This is Eddie with his hair down. That's brilliant, Eddie. Are you looking now? Before we start the investigation, very quickly, what have you experienced since you've been in this Martello?
Quite a bit, actually. We definitely heard, last night, definitely footsteps, very, very loud. And that was at night time. I hope I may have actually got on camera myself, because I've been leaving the camera on at different times. Also, I was sitting there, just at that spot there.
On this big table?
Yeah, and I was talking to Jason, and I see a shadow going through from the right to the left. It was misty, from about human height, about like that, down to the ground. No features, just a mist. So that was interesting, very, very interesting.
Well, let's hope tonight with the lights off, you're all settled down. We'll start off in the lounge first, which is by the
main
table.
thing, if I can say this, I woke up this morning
Oh, sorry.
and I'd lost my hairband.
Oh, yes, you was.
And I
That's
thought
right.
to
Yeah.
myself, where's my hairband? And I was going around looking for it, couldn't find it. Went in the shower room, looked around on the carpet, looked on the shelf where the actual mirror is, no hairband. I then turned around, had another look on the carpet, turned round, there was a hairband on the table.
They're just letting you know. They're letting you know.
No,
I think
that
they're letting you
was
know that they know.
wonderful.
So, listen, Eddie, I'm really looking forward to you joining us tonight. We're going to start off in the lounge area, and we're going to work also. We're going to do a ghost box session in this room on the table, and we're going to explore before then the 2 underground compartments or cells.
Sounds good.
And that's going to be really interesting. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very, very special investigation, and that's a finger cross sign in case anyone is not sure. Okay, we're going to start this investigation in the lounge, which I mentioned earlier actually looks directly across the beach and into the North Sea. Just beyond the window of this building is the sea beating literally at the walls at the base of this particular building. So it gives you an idea how close it is to our maritime roots, as it were. This is an amazing building. It's like a miniature Harwich Redoubt. It has all the features that you find at Harwich Redoubt, apart from the cells, but there's some very interesting structures below and of course on this floor. So what I'm hoping to do is to try and touch base with spirit, and I'm going to start it off. We're going to hand the camera around occasionally so everybody gets an opportunity to talk on screen. I'm going to reach out to the spirits of this building. We have come here and loved light and peace. It's been a very pleasurable stay since we've been here. We've not encountered anything horrible or sinister from you. We've certainly been aware of your presence. We've heard whispering and noises. And what we're asking you to do, if you're prepared to open up more to us and to say or give us some indication of your presence here tonight. I have all my friends here with me. They too have come here with the same peaceful intentions of making contact with you. I appreciate that you probably get lots of people coming to stay here, and perhaps not so many nice people, and perhaps quite a few nice people, but regardless, we haven't come here to cause you, as it were, any issues by our presences. Could anyone say something? Could you give me an indication, please? Could you make a noise? Could you touch somebody in this group? Or could you give any other sign or indication of your presence, please? You move the camera around a bit now, Eddie, just float around.
Just hear the waves crashing
Oh, you can,
outside,
yeah.
right behind me.
It's a lovely sound, isn't it?
Is anybody feeling anything or any indications? Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to really open up and see if that will make any difference at all, and whatever I'm experiencing, I will report to camera. Okay, I can tell you this. We were talking earlier when I was chatting with Eddie about the likely presences in this building, and with Dave, of course, on the same point. If one recalls, if anybody reads the stories of M.R James, and one particular story, which is, I think it was A Warning to the Curious. There was a fellow called Paxton who was brutally murdered next to the Martello Tower. This is fiction. His body was found broken, badly beaten, lying there dead, next to the old battery. There used to be a military battery here. Now that, of course, would have attracted people that would have been working here, both male and female. But I'm not feeling anything which is directly at this moment attributable to the military presence. I'm feeling the presence of a man and woman. There was a couple who lived here, and if we go back to the original story, the body of Paxton was discovered by the man who looked after the Martello Tower. In the story, there were certainly people living here as families. After it fell out of use by I think the mid-Victorian era, none of the Martellos, generally speaking, had any real military purpose, because cannons and armaments had improved significantly over that period of time, and this tower could easily be taken out by cannon and shell. And what I'm feeling here now is a man and a woman, a family. And I think they keep a watchful eye over this property because it was their home. Could you tell me your names, please?
Hostile voice there.
Could you say that again then, please? The impression I have of the woman's name is Martha, M-A-R-T-H-A. I cannot think or hear anything or feel anything in connection with the man's name.
Was that you, Chris?
Yeah, that's me, put my arms down and the rest. I'm seeing a very plainly dressed lady, probably, well, elderly, probably in her 70s or 80s, maybe younger, very thin, and she's wearing a very practical dress, all-in-one dress, you know, the top and bottom. I see her wearing something like an apron. The family used to eat a lot of fish, which they actually caught from the sea. We're actually on an isthmus, so we are surrounded by the sea on both sides. It's almost like being on an island. I suppose, looking at it from another perspective, it's like being on a ship. That's what it feels like. And life here is very harsh. We're in April. It's brutally cold in the wind. I can imagine life in those days was very, very difficult. Can you please tell me something if you are here? If your name is Martha, can you say something, please? Can you make a noise? Wow, I've just had a really weird effect. I've just seen a halo of light, a demi-lune halo of light, and it was across that archway of the window, which looks out into the sea, and it was very faint, and it suddenly expanded across and down. It's almost like it was lighting up the window itself. Thank you. And there's also an energy build-up in the same area. I'm seeing lots of tiny pinpricks of light, of energy. I'm hearing in my mind, asking if our hearts are pure. I feel that the people who lived there were very religious. But you see, I don't feel they're stuck here. I feel these people are free to come and go as they choose, but this is the home that he lived in, their life, and they, if you like, are guardians of this amazing structure, and it is an amazing structure. Does anybody else want to? Eddie, if you pass the camera over, I'll give you an opportunity to get the rest. It's very blurry on Jason. That's better. Ursula's got the laptop on, so it's not totally dark, but she's looking for EVP. Okay, we go across. Okay, there's Dave. Are you feeling anything? Dave?
Not really.
Nothing at all. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling anything directly at the moment. What about yourself, Eddie?
Apart from a slight headache, that's just about it.
Not. As I say, it's not very. I'm not feeling anything of any strength in here at the moment. Not at all.
Yeah, it's here. On the inside, I've got a slight headache, but nothing anything really strong.
Oh, the young lady sat there, by the way, is Ursula's daughter, Ilsa, but she's sitting there quietly, and she wants to be part of the investigation.
It's funny, Chris, I had a really weird image when you were trying to summon somebody. It was like I saw a photograph inside a frame, and it was of a sea captain. And I could see him so clearly, as if it was a photograph that I just saw maybe 10 minutes ago.
Oh, that's incredible. That's interesting.
He had a black peaked hat that was really shiny at the front, a very thick beard, probably in his 50s. Even though the beard was really thick, though, it was very well shaped. And then he had a very long, what looked like a greyish coat, because even though it was a black and white picture, you could tell that it was a slightly different.
Tonally, it looked grey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it had like many buttons down the front and really thick, large collars. And he was standing very proud and staring straight ahead, like an official photograph. But it was so clear, as if I'd been looking through a book and I'd seen it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was very strong.
Anything at all on your laptop, Ursula?
There seem to be areas where there are responses to things that you're saying, but I'll have to analyze them later and amplify them to listen to them.
Okay, that's good. So we're all on there. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to sit here quietly for a couple of minutes, and then I propose we start to explore the underground of this building, which is going to be the most interesting, I suspect. Why don't you ask some questions, Eddie?
Did you just go,
I just heard that very strongly.
I just wondered if that was you, Chris, who'd done that.
Not as I'm aware.
It was like a
She asked
little...
you before, you said, why didn't you ask? So,
Yeah, I heard that very clearly. Did anyone else do that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, so did you hear that too?
I certainly didn't arrest him.
It was like a little high pitch, like
Yeah.
that, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's starting to open up a little bit, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I heard anything, but this is how it often happens. Some people are privy to events and others aren't, and yet we're all in the same room.
Did you pick up a peek there, Ursula?
I have to go back and look.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be able to see, but I'll listen to the audio of all of you responding to it.
Okay.
And I think that's what I'll do when you get ready to go on to the next place. I'll listen to the audio to see what I can get.
Yeah.
You know me. I set an old camera up the other night, thinking I might be on catch your voice, or maybe even see you. You know a friend, I know that you're psychic. All spirits are psychic. They can know exactly what we're doing before we actually say it in a lot of cases. And you know I'm friendly. Could you say something, please? Try and make any sound you possibly can, please. Can you tap on anything?
Just to reiterate what was raised earlier, the noise that you can hear in the background is the sound of the sea beating against the beach and the strong winds blowing off the North Sea.
Just hear you say something, please.
It's like the sea is answering questions.
Sorry?
It's like the sea is answering all the questions with these big crashes on the beach.
We should, I mean, in theory, we're close to water. It should be able to resonate something.
Yeah, I thought about that earlier when we were talking. We always talk about on our tours in Chicago, because we're right on Lake Michigan, that we have a lot of activity in Chicago because the water acts as almost a conduit for the activity. So it makes sense that there's so many ghost stories here along the coast in England, and certainly here.
Anything you can say at all, please do, sir.
Would you like to ask Dave? You might garner a response if you ask yourself, Dave. Ask if anyone's prepared to talk to us.
Well, if anyone's prepared to talk, here we are. I'm feeling a lot of openness. I can say that.
Yourself, Jason?
Well, I mean, so long as the presences, whatever they are, know that we are friendly and we don't want to interfere, we just want to make some kind of communication. Yeah.
Excuse me.
We're not here to meddle in any way, that we just want friendly interaction, communication.
Absolutely.
Oh, that strong headache coming on now. Typical spiritual headache.
Okay, what we're going to do now, I think we're going to terminate here, a very short break, and then we'll go into the cellars, and then we'll work our way through in a group. So it would be advisable to wrap up a little bit because it's going to be quite cold going down there. But both cellars are as creepy as heck, aren't they?
Yes,
They are.
And you felt a change of atmosphere, didn't you, Jason?
Yeah, because I found, like I said earlier in the interview, that I found up in this part of the building that there was nothing but benevolence, but when you go down into the cellar it feels completely different.
Because people don't go there too often, people don't socialise down there.
Yeah, so I can't really explain it obviously, but...
Well, when you think about this, if we go back through mythology, we're close to the water spirits, and then below the building, in the dark and the darkened areas, dwells the low-life spirits. So who knows?
Who knows? And we've literally been surrounded by fog here for the last 2 or 3 days. Relentlessly, that the building, day and night, has been surrounded by mist. So the visibility has been very, very low. And I've even been trying to film for the documentary we're doing on M.R James, and the camera is unable to penetrate and give a realistic impression of what the camera is seeing. So it literally whites out at times. It's searching for detail and it can't find anything.
Everything around us at the moment is almost like ethereal in its content.
Utterly.
Yeah.
Every figure walking along the sand looks like a spectral being. It's a very kind of rarefied atmosphere, you know, up on the edge of the North Sea, you know, on a tiny little isthmus.
I just thought what I saw very faintly was a small light float up alongside your head.
Wow.
But I mean, that could be dust, unless it did something which, as a result of us talking to it, in other words, if it showed any intelligence, it's difficult to gauge what it might be. But I definitely saw it.
Well, it has to sense that we are, you know, we are a benevolent presence. We're not here to meddle, so...
Not at all. No, absolutely not at all. Okay, it's certainly starting to get a lot more interesting, but as I suggested, we're going to have a short break and then we're going down into the cellars. After we've done the cellars, we're going to sit in the main dining area, which is the centre point of the building, and have an EVP session. What was that I heard?
That's what I was
Sorry,
wondering.
I accidentally started recording.
Leave
Sorry.
it.
It was Ursula playing her recordings. But I certainly feel that we will pick stuff up on the ghost box and certainly below. And who knows what we've collected on camera in this session, sitting here now. So let's get on with phase 2 after a short break, which will be into the catacombs. Okay, we're now below the building. We're actually in the basement area. I presume where we're actually standing was used for the storage of munitions and possibly food supplies as well in the event of a long siege. What we're going to do, we're going to stand along this walkway for a few minutes, hoping that we can pick up more electronic voice phenomena or perhaps something else. Earlier, Ursula, when we were upstairs in the lounge area, was recording on her laptop and picked up quite a lot of weird EVP, which of course you would have seen by now on this presentation, but more essentially, what dwells below. And that's what we're hoping to gain some knowledge and insight to. Anything at all, Ursula, on the laptop?
Yeah, there's definitely some areas where there seems to be some speaking and some sounds where we didn't audibly hear them. So hopefully we will be able to hear those on playback.
Okay, for those of you who didn't hear that, Ursula has picked up some indications of perhaps EVP material on her laptop, so we'll review that a bit later. Okay, I'm going to open up. Any spirits of this building, could you make your presence known, please? The people or persons that dwell below here, could you tell us who you are, please? It's feeling really cold and I'm feeling really edgy at the moment. Anybody else feeling a sharp edginess or anything at all?
I feel the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. I know it's very cold down here, but it was sudden, as you just said.
Hey, have a wander down to where Ursula is and start filming.
Christian, is there anybody behind me?
Well, there's no one behind you.
Is there anybody behind me at all? Is everybody behind Chris?
Yep.
Right, I heard voices and I thought that was one of us that talking behind me. And that's why I said be quiet.
Are you recording it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we're now on night light. We're only going to spend a few minutes here because we have to be up very early in the morning to go off to do another shoot. But as you can see here, this is quite...
Can you stop whispering, please?
Another shoot. But as you... Another shoot. But as you...
So, you got quite a loud voice there. That's interesting.
Hopefully that's on the camera.
Yeah.
Do you want to walk further down this walkway,
Not
Eddie?
really,
So
'cause I
people
can't
can-
see a thing.
Okay, who we got here? Oops, sorry. Ursula?
Yes, I'm trying to just put some light here from the laptop so I can get out of your way.
No, you're fine where you
Do you
are.
want me to come behind you?
No, you stay where you are because you're in an interesting part of the building. So you've told me that you heard or you've seen indications of voices on the laptop.
Yeah, because I'm using the waveform display with Audacity.
Which you can't see with this camera, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm using the waveform display. So if there is some audio, it will you'll see it audibly register or visually register on the waveform.
Excellent.
And I've seen that happen several times when there was no audio that I could actually hear.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, we've got something there. Okay, could anyone give me an indication, please? I'm going to go on the special night light. Okay, I've totally illuminated this area, as you can see. Any persons in spirit, please could you give us an indication of your presence? If you want to say something, touch any member of this group, or do something to draw our attention to your presence, it would be greatly appreciated in a very pleasant and friendly way. Who's shuffling? There's Eddie over the back there with Ilsa. Okay, I've got the main beam on this light, so it's quite powerful. I'm looking down over the other side of this balcony. It's an L-shaped balcony. It runs straight below, under the cellar. It runs directly for about 15-20 feet and then bears sharp left. And that's where Ursula is with her audio recorder on her laptop. I heard a voice. I heard a shout. Anybody feeling anything at all? Anybody getting any sensations at all that's worth reporting?
I was going to say, just like Eddie, just a sharp pain between my eyes.
You're getting a sharp pain between your eyes. Eddie, you're getting the same?
The one thing I will say is while you were talking beforehand,
Yeah.
there was a voice behind me and I thought that was one of the group whispering. And I said, I think I said, shh, don't whisper.
Yeah, I heard that.
And I thought there was somebody behind me, but it's not. The rest of the group was in front.
So someone's following us around, aren't they?
Oh yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a possible whisper just then.
Well, that's incredible. Jason,
Yeah.
anything?
Nothing yet, no.
Dave?
Nothing really.
No,
Where's Dave? Oh, you're there.
Right here.
Nothing at all.
no. But nothing bad either.
No, no.
Yeah, there's
It's
no
nothing horrible
sinister
about
there,
this
isn't
place.
No, it's, I feel comfortable.
Okay, time is running against us. We'll stay here for a couple more minutes and then we'll make our way to the next cell, which is a bit smaller than this one. Anybody in spirit? We come here in love, light and peace. We mean you no harm, we mean you no offence. We are just here to make friendly and peaceful contact, and when we leave, we will leave you in peace.
Is that somebody knocked?
No,
that was me moving.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of stability here, though.
I did just see a naked eye orb.
I mean, this is a view that we're looking at, which most people have never seen.
I certainly haven't until I came here. That was an amazing
Yeah,
place.
it's an amazing
Oh,
space.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on because we want to get a ghost box session in, and I'm fairly sure we're going to pick something up from there without any problems. So if we can make our way back up to the top.
Okay, very good. Go ahead, Nick.
Thanks, sir. As you can see, there's a lot of timber work supporting the building.
YouTube.
Thank you. We'll leave you in love and peace.
Thank you so much.
Whisper behind me.
No.
That's so loud.
You heard a whisper?
Well, it wasn't a whisper. That was more the case being talking.
Really?
It just sounded as though someone was actually whisper talk.
Okay, what we're going to do at this juncture, as we earlier, Ursula was able to show some indication of presence. Let's just have a listen and see whether or not Ursula's been able to pick a voice up from down below.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a voice right
There's something there, yeah, on the.
there. Yeah. Yeah, right. There's something right here already. I can tell. Did you hear that?
It's weird, isn't it? That's really weird. And you were static at that point.
Don't stop now. That's what I heard.
to move this forward to when we get quiet and you just speak so we can hear.
What was that big bar there?
See, there's a lot of voices in here.
What program are you
There's a hey
using?
right there. Audacity.
Yeah, I use.
There's a hey right there.
Yeah. There's a huge spike further up.
Move this on to when it gets quiet so we can see.
I'm not anywhere near you. I can't get through at the moment. Eddie, I
Sorry. Right, are we ready? Okay, we're now in the last chamber, and here it's much smaller. It's an annex to the main chamber that we've just been into, and I'm not sure whether we're going to get a continuation from the other side here. So if any of the spirits that were there are here, could you say something? Could you give us some indication of your presence, please?
We just heard a very gruff man's voice.
This is from when you reviewed the video audio.
No, Billis and I just heard it right now in real time audibly.
Okay, it's a really rough voice.
A female voice as well.
Okay, can you tell me your names, please? Can you tell me your names? My name is Chris.
I'm Eddie.
Jason.
I'm Ursula.
Dave.
Ilsa.
Okay, we're all gathered here. We haven't come here to cause you problems. We don't want to be offensive. We just want you to be prepared to reach out to us and make some statement. Is there anything you wish to say? I can hear whispering over here. Is this another... Oh no, it's glass. It's a lamp. I think this is the boiler room, isn't it? Where we're in.
I heard footsteps upstairs.
Just a second.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Jason's heard footsteps above Ursula, and you also have heard a gruff male voice. Dave, anything? And I think I heard a voice to the side of me.
And I feel all of a sudden negative, bad, malevolent. I didn't feel that anywhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of dark side below here, isn't it? Definitely. But interesting nevertheless. Doesn't seem to have the same impact on me though as the other side did in the bigger area.
You would think that you would feel more on that side because it seems more, larger, more expansive.
I think originally those steps would have come all the way down and we've been able to walk into the flooring area where they kept all their stuff, but it's been covered over so you can't get down here. So it's just a stepway into the cellar. But it's just like Harry's Redoubt Fort. It's a very similar cell-like structure, as you can see with the ceilings, Eddie, can't you? There's vaulted.
Indeed.
Just a typical Napoleonic era installation, which resonates well with Harry's Redoubt, of course. Okay, I'm not really feeling much more than this, so what I'm proposing to do is to return back into the dining room this time, and we can have a ghost box session there, and hopefully for half an hour maybe pick up something of interest. We're not going to be able to run this investigation the whole night, and I'll tell you for why. We are here for this week to film a documentary, and part of our shooting schedule requires us to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning, so it's not going to be a late one. Okay, let's go back up. Thanks, folks. Okay, we're now gathered around this table and we've got a device, it's called the Ghost Box. and it's a device which utilises radio sound which can be converted into words which you can use to respond to us. Does anyone understand what I'm saying? If you answer yes or no. I heard something then. Could you try again harder, please? Somebody was speaking to us earlier. Somebody who sounded quite elderly, a lady. And she was talking to us. Is there anything you want to tell us? Do you want us to go, or? I'm going to turn the audio up. We're on AM, and we're on about 200 milliseconds. Okay. Would you like to speak, Ursula?
I'm a person who's talked that my daughter and I heard downstairs. Can you talk to us again? You sounded like you did not want us to be here. Do you want us to leave?
Ask if there's anybody from here from Dublin, where you come from.
US.
Well, no, your voice, your accent might be key.
Is there anybody here from Ireland?
Anybody here who fought against the Americans in the American War of Independence? Because that, 1776, 1806, 25 years it's possible, isn't it?
Right.
Are there any men here who fought in the wars against the American colonists? Could you tell me your name, please, if anybody wishes to speak? Eddie, would you like to say something? Going around the table.
Talk to the lady that was here earlier on and was talking, and we heard you laugh as well. Could you tell us your name, please?
Eddie asked if you could tell your name, please, the lady who was talking earlier.
Can you say your name, please?
Okay, let's cut to the chase now. We've been playing games with you. Who is that lady, that very aggressive lady who was speaking here earlier? There's no good making snide remarks or comments in the other room. Here is your opportunity. Speaking. Can you tell me more? Ooh. What was that? I missed it.
Sounded like you bastard.
I called you a bastard. I was 14.
Call me a bastard.
Sounded like you're a bastard.
I didn't say anything. Did someone call me a bastard? Any people from Slowden village, which was destroyed by the sea? This is the only remnant of Slowden. Are there any residents here of Slowden who would like to speak?
Right there.
What's your name, please? Does anybody here recall the poet George Crabbe, who lived here in Aldborough? He had his house completely destroyed by the sea. Are you here, George? And one famous visitor who used to wander around here, a famous writer, author, medievalist scholar, Montague Rhodes James. Are you here? Could you come to this building? Could you tell me your name, please? There's something then. Is there a lady called Martha?
I like the song. The song? The song?
Are there any Americans here? We can't communicate with you effectively if you can't communicate with us, so it makes it rather one-sided. So there must be someone here who is forceful enough to want to say something. Would you like us to stop doing this now? Would you like us to stop? Yes or no?
Stop it.
What?
Stop it.
You want me to stop?
Stop it, you bastard.
No, I never heard that. Right, we're going to change direction of influence. Ursula, could you sit here and do the talking for a bit?
Hello, my name is Ursula. I just wanted to see if I could have you speak with me for a little bit. We don't mean any harm to you. We just would like to learn about you, get into contact with you. These are my friends, Jason, Chris, my husband Dave, my friend Eddie, my daughter Ilsa. Jason is from Ireland. Eddie and Chris are here from England. My husband, my daughter, and I are from America. Can you tell us how long you've been here? Is there a woman here who lives in this house? Do you have children in this house? Was it you that we heard laughing? Are you happy in this house?
I heard a voice there. Yes. I get the impression whoever lived here would happen.
Yeah, me too. Were you happy living in this house? Did you have a lot of friends here in Aldborough? Is your husband a fisherman? Are you confused by what we're doing?
That's the problem with this, is that there are sometimes lots of meaningful responses, but they're weak. And you only hear them when you clear the audio up, so we don't know what we've got really.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. We really appreciate you speaking with us and allowing us this time in your home.
Yes, I intend to close down this session now. Thank you, well, for at least in part of answering some of our questions, and we won't disturb you on at this level again with this ghost box, and we will leave you in peace, love and light, and I can say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Everybody, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any residents here of Slough who would like to speak? Ursula, we've had a fair to middling investigation, I feel. I certainly believe we've got some good EVP on your laptop, so it therefore follows it's going to be good EVP on the cameras. And the ghost box session was interesting. There were some interesting responses. What is your overall impression of this as a visitor to this country coming to this building?
I'm really anxious to listen to the EVP. I know that we have a lot of responses on the EVP. I was also surprised that several of us heard real-time audio. We actually heard it. My daughter and I heard a voice very audibly, a gruff man's voice in the second chamber downstairs. I know, Eddie, you heard voices several times, and so did you, Jason. So I'm really, that was really surprising. That's unusual. It's unusual to hear audible voices during an investigation, so that was very encouraging to me. But I know that we got a lot of audio, and I'm looking forward to analyzing it and seeing what we have. So
well, thank you.
It's just a delight to be here.
You're just amazed by the whole spectacle.
Incredible.
And bearing in mind we're in this fort, which looks like a castle.
Like 10 feet from the North Sea.
And surrounded in freezing mist.
Yeah.
Fog.
Yeah, which we have to go out into in
We are completely cut off.
Hotel.
There's nobody else out there at all. It's just us in this isolated building at the end of an isthmus, surrounded on both sides by the sea. So it's quite a weird and almost unique experience.
It's a very unique experience.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for coming over to visit us here in England.
It's been a
Everybody
pleasure.
on Facebook and YouTube, say hello to Ursula. Well, you know her anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Very quickly, anybody else? Jason, impressions?
Well, the upper part of the building, it was very kind of relaxed and sedate and no real issues, but I know that when we went into the first cellar area, tensions were starting to rise, but it was nothing spectacular. But then we went into the second area, which was much smaller, and I think everybody was starting to feel quite a bit of tension and wanted to get out of there. So if there was anything negative, it seemed to be in that area. And then when we came up here, some very interesting voices coming through and responses to various questions asked. So, I mean, it feels successful. It feels as though we got quite a lot of activity, and it's a very special environment. So that's all I can think of, really.
Okay, well, thank you. Over to Dave.
Well, I'm endlessly impressed with this. I feel a lot of stability here, a lot of organization, uniformity. I feel the solidity of the building, and I feel very protected here. Quite frankly, I did not feel anything negative here at all.
No, nor did I.
No, and I felt a lot of openness here. A presence, yes. Very early 19th century, but again, nothing. I did not feel repelled from here at all. So I felt very comfortable.
So it's quite a pleasant experience.
Yes.
Cellars below?
Cellars, again, a lot of solidity. The air was very,
I felt a lot of fluidity down there. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it was very clean. This is a very clean structure. That's what I feel. It's a very light
Nothing
structure.
evil.
No, I don't feel anything heavy here at all. So
No, normally too.
yeah, I'm
so
comfortable.
overall, it's a worthwhile visit.
Oh, incredibly so. Yes.
Memories for life,
Yes, indeed.
of which this video will be
Yeah.
part of.
Right. Yes. We'll try to do it again. Thanks.
Thanks very much,
All right.
Dave.
My pleasure.
Over to Eddie.
Hello. Well,
Eddie the Finger.
well, I have to say that in the first one, as we were heading down there, I heard voices, and while you were talking, and I said, "Don't whisper." I then find out everyone was in front, so in which behind you.
Yes, that's right. You definitely heard something
I
behind
heard
you. Someone.
I definitely categorically heard whispering, and that was so interesting to me. Once or twice, one or two whispers throughout. A few interesting bits and pieces, I've got to say. Been a
So
interesting.
overall tonight, and all the places. I mean, obviously you're a seasoned investigator. You've been all over.
Yeah.
So how would you rate this place in your list of experiences?
When I go through the recordings afterwards, that'll be the proof in the pudding.
Exactly.
But
And
at
you've been
the moment-
recording prior to this investigation, which will be included in this show if there's anything measurable.
Sorry?
You've been recording for the last
Yeah.
few days, and if you record anything which is measurable, you will share that on this video, and people will be able to see for themselves.
Indeed.
Well, thank you very much, Eddie. I appreciate you coming along and being the demonic Mr. Ager.
No digging here!
Ilsa, I know you're shy, so I'm not going to force. But have you enjoyed yourself tonight?
Yes.
It's been great fun. You've enjoyed it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. And just briefly, Dave, can you hold this on me?
Certainly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the sum total of tonight's investigation, and I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for joining, and I look forward to future investigations and experiences either here in the UK, in Europe, or of course in the US. Thank you, good night everybody, and God bless.